would always say that someone was lucky because they caught a great opportunity. But what about the years when nobody called, when nobody clapped, when nobody noticed? What about the mornings when they got up early to study the market or read a book or learn a new skill? Nobody ever calls that luck. They call it discipline. They call it persistence. But when that same discipline finally meets its moment, suddenly the world calls it lucky. I remember thinking back on my own life, all the times I felt someone else had caught a break I was waiting for. And then the truth settled in like a quiet visitor in the night. Maybe I wasn't prepared when the break passed by. Maybe it wasn't that life didn't hand me the chance. Maybe I simply wasn't ready to receive it. That was a sobering realization. But sometimes the most valuable lessons arrive wrapped in discomfort. Success doesn't fall out of the sky. It rises from the soil. The harvest only surprises the one who didn't plant the seed. And isn't it interesting how the unprepared call it chance? They shake their heads in wonder when someone moves ahead. But the prepared don't look surprised. They nod. They smile. They say that's about right. Because to the prepared, success is not an accident. It's the natural reward for being ready when the moment arrives. And here's something I learned. Timing is always passing by. It flows like a river. It never stops. It never waits. The question is not whether opportunity is coming. The question is whether you're standing on the banks with a bucket or with bare hands. Opportunity favors the one who came equipped, the one who put in the hours that no one else applauded. People see the moment of triumph and forget the years of preparation. They see the spotlight and forget the lonely practice room. They see the victory and forget the struggle. They see the reward and forget the price. But life doesn't forget. Life keeps perfect score. And when preparation and timing finally shake hands, people call it luck. But you and I know better. Luck is the label observers give to someone else's discipline. It's the shadow cast by preparation standing in the light. Luck is the name the unprepared give to the prepared. Once you understand that, you stop hoping for luck and start working on readiness. You stop waiting for things to change and begin preparing for the moment they do. And one day, when life brings you a chance that seems tailor-made, someone will lean over and say, "You sure are lucky today." And you'll smile, not because it's true, but because you understand what really happened. Opportunity favored the prepared. Long before the crowd applauds, long before the contract is signed or the door swings open, there is the hidden work that nobody sees. I used to think the big moment created the success. But after a while, I discovered the big moment only reveals the success. The real creation happens long before. Preparation is quiet. It doesn't make noise in the beginning. It happens early in the morning when most people are still asleep. It happens late at night when most have already surrendered to the pillow. It happens when you choose to study instead of drift, practice instead of coast, read instead of waste time. And the interesting thing about preparation is that no one cheers for you while you're doing it. You have to learn to cheer for yourself. I found that confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you build. And competence isn't something you wish for, it's something you craft. You build it by showing up to the small, unnoticed tasks that shape your character and sharpen your skills. You build it by doing the work long before the need arises. That's the hidden part of preparation. The world can't see it, but it can certainly feel it. There were seasons in my life when nothing seemed to be happening. On the outside, everything looked still.
A seminar can change your mind, yes. But how do you actually start
Waiting for something to inspire them to get ready. But getting ready is the inspiration. The act of preparing sets something powerful in motion. It tells your mind, your emotions, your habits that you intend to participate in your own future. It signals that you're serious about what you want. And life seems to open its doors just a little wider for someone who is serious. There is a kind of quiet dignity in preparation. Nobody sees the hours of practice, but everyone sees the result. Nobody sees the years of learning, but everyone sees the moment of mastery. Nobody sees the private disciplines, but everyone sees the public confidence. That's why preparation is such a remarkable investment. It multiplies in silence and pays dividends in daylight. I learned to stop underestimating the small daily efforts. 1 hour of study, 1 page of notes, 1 skill practiced again and again. These little deposits accumulate. They build a reserve that becomes priceless when life calls for it. We all admire the person who seems to respond quickly and effectively when opportunity knocks. But speed is not born in the moment. It comes from slow, steady preparation built over time. So if you're in a season where the phone isn't ringing, where the opportunities seem thin, where the progress feels slow, remember this: the hidden work is not empty work. You're building the strength you'll need when the door finally opens. You're preparing the ground for a harvest that may surprise you. And one day those long, quiet hours will speak loudly on your behalf. Preparation builds the person long before it builds the result. If readiness is the great separator, then habits are the builders. I learned that you don't rise to the level of your hopes. You rise to the level of your habits. And every day, those habits tell a story about where you're headed. Not someday, not one day. Today. Right now. In the quiet routines that shape your thinking and sharpen your awareness. Daily reading became one of my earliest turning points. A few pages in the morning, a few at night. Nothing dramatic, nothing heroic, just steady nourishment. I discovered you can transform a life with a book or two if you read them well enough, long enough, and often enough. Reading stretches the mind. It invites new ideas. It challenges old assumptions. It hands you vocabulary for the future you hope to build. And after a while, you begin to see that preparation isn't just something you do with your hands. It's something you do with your mind. Then there's the habit of reviewing goals. Not once a year when the calendar changes, but every day. Because the mind drifts, the imagination wanders. The pressures of the world try to crowd out your purpose. But when you look at your goals daily, something powerful happens. You stay aligned. You stay awake. You stay connected to the direction you've chosen. A goal written down and reviewed daily becomes a compass, always pulling you back on course. Journaling added another dimension. Writing things down clarifies things the mind tends to blur. A journal becomes a mirror that doesn't lie. It shows patterns you might miss. It reveals where effort is strong and where discipline is weak. It captures insights before they evaporate. And over time, these pages trace the journey from confusion to clarity, from uncertainty to understanding. If reading feeds the mind, journaling organizes it. Reflection ties all of this together. A few quiet minutes at the end of the day, asking what worked, what didn't, and what needs improvement. Not with self-criticism, but with self-respect. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. Without reflection, you simply live the same day over and over. With reflection, each day becomes a teacher, each mistake a message, each victory a reminder of what's possible. These habits don't shout, they whisper. They don't demand applause. They ask only for consistency. And in return, they build something priceless: readiness. Not the kind of readiness built on luck or last-minute scrambling, but the kind formed by daily alignment between who you are and who you are becoming. I learned that preparation isn't an event, it's a lifestyle. The mind must be trained just like the body, something you've been building day after day, page after page, thought after thought. Readiness grows in the soil of daily habits. And when the habits are strong, the readiness is inevitable. Opportunity has an interesting personality. It doesn't always knock loud enough for the whole neighborhood to hear. It doesn't come waving a bright flag or sounding a trumpet. Most of the time, it slips in quietly, disguised as a little extra work, an unexpected challenge, or an invitation that stretches you just a bit beyond comfort. And someone unprepared walks right past it, never knowing what it could have become. I learned that opportunity rarely introduces itself. It expects you to recognize it. It expects you to be alert enough, prepared enough, developed enough to say there's something here worth leaning into. Sometimes it shows up as a problem. People sometimes say they're waiting for something to inspire